This is a read in one of the books that inspired me very much and deeply since I was studying to become a teacher in the seminary of Aarhus in Denmark. It's written by Claes Jensen and it's called The Godly Laughter, or To Laugh with God, an expression that seems very difficult to just understand immediately. It's about existential issues, humanistic issues of life, like happiness and fear and hope and despair and these kind of psychological traits that are very common human. The title itself is taken from Meister Eckhart from the 1200s. He was a monk who tried to, a mystic as they call him, who talked about laughing with God. And this is not a religious book in that way, but it is, they call it a humanistic book. It's existential psychology at the same time, very much like the book of Irvin Yalom. That's also very, very fine. So basically, it's about that we are all unique. At the same time, we have all common traits that makes our uniqueness disappear in another way. And that's what I want to talk about, especially in these times where we have a lot to struggle with. I found a fine gateway into this, both as a religious person, but also as a human living with others who has another kind of perspective of life. I think this is a common ground for both religious, non-religious, and different kind of values, to look at these common issues that we all feel and share and can go through in life. The fear of death and how we overcome that, and sometimes the fear of life. And that's also an issue in that book. So that's what I'm gonna do, talk about one of the books that stayed with me and had inspired me since that time, hoping that it will reach out to someone who will be needing it and sitting, waiting to hear it, and at one day maybe make a difference in his or her life. That's what anyone hopes for, that things can have a good effect on other people. Otherwise, why write any book? And so, laughing with God, some would say laughing at God, depends on your view and how respectful in your religious views you are. But it's not the issue of the book. It's just the title. It's the ability to laugh and the ability to be able to think about higher issues than yourself. This is a very, very strong and special human ability, that we are able to imagine talking to a God, feel it inside us, or talk to ourselves, laugh at ourselves at the same time. And that ability is very profound in humans. I haven't seen animals going around stopping laughing at themselves other in the cartoons and the stories written by human. So there's something strongly attractive in being able to have this laughter in life, and being able to get over all the tension, the fear, the excitement, and just relax and laugh it out. Start saying, I remember we had an exercise once, and it became twice and thrice and many times, that when we had to learn each other as colleagues in the school and the places otherwise that you gonna meet people, then you start by having something to laugh at together, and that makes that bond. So someone would just start saying something that others could possibly laugh at, and then someone will start saying and the other will repeat And then you go on laughing as much as you can. So you repeat the laugh. And then you have the laughter and it's coming out. And sometimes it happens without you knowing it. Something just in front of you, a situation, a case, someone says something. So the ability to laugh, I agree, is in many ways a godly trait. It's a trait of people who are above things, relaxed, able to enjoy it all, and to look at it from a perspective of total acceptance, relaxation, and overview. To be able to laugh at oneself is as well a very strange thing, because usually you laugh at others, and that's where some people go, only looking at others and trying to laugh at them. Maybe some people even laugh at God or the gods and make fun with that. But to laugh at oneself, well, that's something that needs a lot of concentration or relaxation in many ways. And you need to get over your own importance to be able to laugh at yourself and look at your funny sides, as well as you can see others. So when somebody is saying something about you or the way you act, sometimes it's your kids, it's it's okay to laugh at who they look at and how they see you are funny, and see the situation from another perspective, even though you don't understand what they are laughing at. And it can feel like you are overstepping something in yourself by doing so. Well, I would like to have a read and a talk on that book, and it's one of the books that's very close to my heart. I like it very much, and that's why I want to share it. Thank you. And so the book starts with a very interesting saying by Rollo May, who wrote on these issues. And he said that when a human understands something, you just realize something is the moment where eternity meets time. So you are sitting here and you just realize something. That's a very special moment when you get this, what we call in Danish, the experience of the aha experience. It means that you suddenly just something falls in place for you, or a new horizon or new perspective opens up for you. And I guess that's the issue of this book. This is what it's really trying to do, to give you some of these insights without putting it in a lot of theoretical context that makes you lose sight of what it's gonna say. Maybe that's why I like it. And so let's get started with it. The first thing is talking about being tired of life or being in life. And he's not talking about the philosophical side, like why am I here? And you just understand you are here and you are somewhere in your own consciousness anyway. And that is something we have to deal with. And that brings us to having several notions of feelings when we are here, when we are living. And the first of them is fear. Fear is a very, very deep and profound human feeling and way of being. It happens often when you feel you are threatened or something can be dangerous, and behind that something that's very understandable. And the fear can be reducing. It reduces your way of thinking. It can freeze you and make you a lonely, dark, vulnerable, unaccepting, still standing human being. This is how this is described here. And your body will react to fear. You will feel that it's about being in unrest. You will get trouble breathing. Something will feel heavy on you, and you will sweat, and you will be very very tightened out in that situation of fear. We have maybe all experienced that at one level or another. You can have trouble sleeping, you can stare at things, you can get ready to meet the danger if you could see it. And so we have all kind of fears. It's not always fear of something else. And that's the point here, that we can fear ourselves. We can even fear that experience of the aha of understanding something. That can also make us scared. It's like when I'm realizing at this moment that, or yesterday, reading on some topics on politics, and I realize, whoa, the world is really maybe going through a kind of big crisis right now. How close is it? And if I just realize it's just around the corner, or I'm scared that it's just around the corner, that sets some things in motion in me. So I react mentally and in my body, and everything will get concentrated on that. So some of the basic words here in and around fear is that you feel threatened, you want to run away or fight it, you want to be somewhere else, you want to understand why, how you can escape it, you feel fragile, you feel unrest. It's something to do with being or being destroyed, change that will come, and things that can affect your balance and your health, being lonely, in despair, blocked, having loss of sleep, ready to cry, crying, in crisis. You are in a dark, long, evil, sheltered place. You feel like you are alone and you are frozen and you are close to panic. You can't maybe breathe enough, and you have visions. Maybe you don't understand the proportions of things. Things becomes more dangerous than they are. Your head is filled with thoughts. It feels like it can be exploding. You can feel something in your stomach, something thrilling, or something like a cold ice, or maybe it's a rock sitting down there and not wanting to leave. And you feel you are out of your body, and you do not realize what's around you in your surroundings, and you feel closed into yourself. These are some of the words that the author had gathered from people and his students, explaining how they feel fear. And that's one sense of reality that we are in. Another one he has explored is unreal, to be unreal in many situations. It's the experience of like waking up and looking into yourself or the mirror, or at that moment saying, what am I doing here? Who is this that I'm looking at? What is it that seems so close to me but still so far away? You have this sense of things not being as real as they used to be. It's like you have this realization that not everything is as it should be. There is something in you that can make it wave in and out. It's like walking in very soft shoes, and like in a dream, they say, some people. And some have said that it's like feeling you're walking on earth, and you're suddenly not there anymore, or that you are in one with your surroundings. And you don't know if you have your feet under you or not. So some has also felt it like you have been shut in to a kind of a glass, and you can look out, but you can't move, you can't do anything about it. You are just there, but you have no influence. It's like you can see, but nobody sees you. You're mostly invisible. Some have felt the unreal reality as if it's never ending, and it can be very strange in the way we can feel the lack of reality, because most of the time we are here and we know where we are, what we are doing, and we feel closest to ourselves, and we feel exactly what it is that we are about to do and who we are surrounded with and where we belong. We use the language, the music, the things in front of us and surrounding us. But from time to time, we can have this feeling of not really being attached to any of these things and being out of ourselves. And that's the feeling of being unreal in many times. Sometimes in words, it can be being in distance, being in a fog, having an echo. Something is ringing and something is touching you, but you can't touch it. You get déjà vus. It's like you've been there before. You know it, but you don't know it. It's something you realize, but you cannot really explain. It's something that's undefined, outside your body, but still feels like it can touch you and be with you. You can have doubts, you can feel here and there, you can feel dizzy and feel disturbed. So you don't know the meaning of what it is you're feeling inside you, kind of emptiness or kind of magic, something symbolic, something like you are more than one person, or that you are out of yourself, or that you can be invisible all at all, or you don't belong to reality. So these are some of the words that people have put on the issue of being unreal. The third big keyword he introduces us to is happiness. And yesterday was Day of Happiness, and there have been a lot of talk about that. I have also tried to give a reflection. Happiness is defined in many ways. He uses one definition here, but it's difficult to encapsulate in this book here and in Claes Jansens' way of saying it. It's a kind of feeling of being free and independent of anything, that you can affect your life, being happy for what you are about and the goals you are getting to. You can feel impatience in getting to what you like, and then the fulfillment of getting it. That's happiness in people's definitions here. I talked about happiness as an eternal equilibrium of acceptance. That's another kind of looking at it. And I talked about that in a separate video. Not because I'm trying to define it, it's just my way of understanding what happiness is. So it's not achieving things all the time. That's not happiness, but it's not reacting to the loss either. So it's a kind of being in balance. And that balance needs acceptance. And so some of the words people in the book here have put on this happiness is like being light and cheerful, seeing the light, being there in the situation, feeling beautiful, happy, easy to be with, to get in contact with, have no limits, feel your openness and closeness. You feel your body and yourself are one and can do anything, no worries, and every trouble is vanished. You feel it's like things are lighter, not so dark as they are. So it's a kind of an effect of how you gather yourself together. And so you wish time would stand still in that happiness, and you feel very special, unique, and you have this thrilling feeling inside you of being extraordinary alive. So you are never alone, and you are full of life, and you feel you can touch everything and do anything, and you can accept anything and forgive anything. And you are part of something very beautiful, very rich, very, very eternal. These are some of the words that people talk about, and some of them are also like feeling you are in a kind of weightlessness. You are just floating. It's also, some people say it's like being drunk. You feel you are aroused by that happiness. It's an ecstasy that carries you and carries you on for a long time. Yes, these are three main topics that he begins to talk about in the beginning of the book. And he starts by like commenting on fear and the feeling of unreality and the feeling of happiness and fulfillment. And let's take that along and then put an end to this first talk in the introduction. When he had what we just mentioned now, what I just mentioned, sorry, about the the topics of these three things, he had some thoughts and he brought in some thinkers to help him understand it more. So being in life and being tired of life is a kind of excluding who you are and the child inside you. That's how he see it, and he uses some words from a psychiatrist called Eric Byrne, and it's like connected to fear and to feeling unreal, but it's like the way to feel it is if you just say what you think and show what you feel and do what you like, and then you have it all there. It gets in front of you, all of it. So it's like a situation where there's a conflict, there is an unbalance, there is something pushing you or forcing you in one direction or another, something holding you back, something pushing you forward into an abyss or something you cannot really realize. So it becomes that kind of conflict that is unknown to you, and the push or the pull that makes life unbearable and tiresome. And to get out of it is just to get closest to yourself. Be who you are. Say what you think. Show what you feel. Do what you want. And then you have the new situation that you will start having. So that's why his advice is be realized on what you think and what you feel. Play with your fantasy and what you want, and look at the consequences of things. And make the dialogue with yourself something permanent. Talk to yourself about your choices and the way you are and why you have the feelings you have. And it's like you have to realize you are maybe more than one person inside you. And he uses here the words of the poem of Goethe, the German known the big poet and writer from the time of the Romanticism. And he say, more than one soul is living in this chest, or double souls are living in this chest. So this is a beautiful saying to make you understand that talking to yourself is not being crazy. It's like you are reflecting on some of your centers of attention with yourself. And that is where it starts. But the choices you make leads you also to fear. Being alive is also being afraid, because just being here and being in this situation where you are surrounded by all these things we have mentioned before and surrounded by life itself, that can bring fear very deep into your life, because you feel you are put in a place where you have to find yourself and find your way through, and you're not sure you can make it, and you see others like getting lost, or maybe worst, getting hurt, and you understand that it's just with you since you are born. You know you are here and you are exposed. You are not just part of life. So they say that fear is the other face of who you are, and they are the same sides of what you are and what you want to be. So it's a kind of feeling that will follow you very, very deeply, because you are human. Being human is also being afraid. And later he will talk on what ways we can use to get over fear and the different ways people use to get over fear. So we especially feel the fear when something gets out of balance, or we feel our existence being threatened, or we are in a situation where there is a conflict or something pushing us or pulling us towards something we really don't want or don't understand or can't see the consequences of. And so we deal with that in different ways, but it is there and it is hitting us in the body and in the mind. So it's your sense of reality that will get affected by any feeling of threat, and the fear is the way to like send you the signals that there is something wrong you have to deal with. Maybe it's an illusion, maybe it's just a feeling you have that something is wrong, but maybe it's not. But anyhow, your body will react to it, and your mind will send you these signals. And fear can make people afraid of going mad or losing control or getting out of themselves in so far measures that they cannot get back. And that's what fear sometimes can do with us. It can make us react in a way that we do not recognize, and then we transform, we become somebody else. That's what's called cowardness or bravery or aggressiveness or fearsomeness. And this is not in the book, but I'm commenting on the book, actually, not just reading it, but mostly sticking to most of what this very beautiful book is saying. So, to sum up what he is talking about around fear, he say that Søren Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher and author, and I love Kierkegaard, I'm gonna have a special talk on him as well. He has this saying. He has a whole book. He wrote a whole thesis or talk about fear on that expression, the expression of fear. And he say, basically, fear is when part of me wants something that other part of me is afraid of. And so we are back at that duality inside of us, that we are more than one thing or than one force pushing us or pulling us. We are trying to integrate something in ourselves, the part of us that wants something that the other is afraid for. And this is a good way to end this introduction to fear. And then he goes on talking about the feeling of being unreal in life. And that sense is a different one. It is related to fear, but it's kind of maybe an effect also of it. It's about what reality is and consciousness and how we feel, the connection between them. And sometimes we say to ourselves, I have to be realistic. I have to adapt to reality. I have to understand that I do not need to overreact. I must not listen to the voice of fear inside me. I must relate to how things are around me. I must not get out of way in my thinking, so it becomes unrealistic. And all these things we say to ourselves, it is like to try to keep that sense of unreal being under control. So this feel of that things are unreal and we are unreal and things are like more an illusion sometimes. As we said before, people have expressed this in many ways. It's a feeling of getting out of yourself or not being close to yourself or not at one with yourself. And the way we try to deal with that is to always keep in touch with reality and how things really are and the effect of the angst or fear on us. And so what feels unreal is that we are in touch with a reality we do not always feel totally coherent and connected with. And that's what they call, we have a persona, we have a mask. We relate to things in a special role. And we are different in different situations. And so when we are that, we feel that we get some questions about life and reality. And sometimes you can relate to yourself and you can see that your reaction or thoughts or talks does not relate to the situation, not realistic, not really understandable by others, and so you feel strange and you feel like you are not there, or you are part of something else, you don't belong there. So it's the unreality of how you feel things are, and that can make you dizzy, like living in freedom. The dizziness of freedom, has Søren Kierkegaard also said. But at the same time, you realize by this unreality that you can redefine yourself and your thoughts and your actions, so you can become one with this reality, and you can relate to it again. So it's not just a one-way ticket. It's like situations where you learn to adapt to that reality. So that feeling of not being really real, not being alive, the unreality of reality. And you get this sense of feeling sometimes. It's just like, whoa, what did just happen to me? You can be sitting at a party and then suddenly you feel you don't hear the words of people anymore. You're out of yourself. You're in a different place. Your imagination takes you away because you just smelled something. Somebody said a word and it took you totally away from that place. So what happened? How did you disappear from there? And so on. It can happen all the time. And getting to understand that feeling of unreality and making things real for you, that is the travel that you are on as a human being. Today people call it self-realization. Self-realization. It's a word used also by Abraham Maslow, as we will get back to in the next topic. But it's about also being where you want to be and accepting that, or having the thoughts and look at reality as you want to have, without relating to what others think or how people otherwise feel that reality. For you, reality can feel so imaginary, non-realistic, or maybe enchanting. And for others, a flower is just something that grows in the earth. But if you look at it, you see something much more in it. And that's your reality and your way of living. And that's what gives more and deeper sense into your soul and heart, and fulfill your life in many ways. And so, to end up and sum up this part of the introduction, this is the second part, talking about the feeling of unreality. He quotes Eric Fromm, a very renowned psychiatrist that we're going to get back to in this book, and is very recommendable as a reading. He say it's to be the creating centrum for your actions and your experiences. You are the creator of your experienced life, and in that way, your destiny. Destiny is a difficult word and it can be misunderstood, but it's like what you experience is what happens to you and what you become and what you are, and nothing else. So this will become your destiny, the thing you experience. So feeling special and unique and especially alive, extraordinary alive, is something that can make your reality different from many other people. So how many times you have felt happiness in your life, the happiness we just described earlier, the book described earlier. When I say we, I mean the book and I mean the author and I, because it's like a collaboration here. It's a beautiful one, because I'm living with the book at the same time as I'm speaking. And so that happiness defined earlier, how many times, what's the frequency of it, how many times does it repeat itself in your life? And that is also something to stop by, because that will fill your existence and that will give sense in your feeling of being real or unreal. The last part of the introduction is about when people had talked to him about happiness. And the psychologist of the humanistic school, Abraham Maslow, from the 1970s, has written about what he called peak experiences some people have. And they are a feeling of identity in a very acute manner, where a person gathers his strength. He's more integrated and open for experiences, idiosyncratic, perfect in his formulation, spontaneous, creative, humoristic, getting beyond himself in all that. And in that period, more than himself. So that's a peak experience. I think I will repeat it because it's beautiful, but I will say it in another way. But it's like, it's the acute, it means the here and now feeling of identity. You identify yourself with what you're doing, the situation, the experience. You gather all your strength. You are more integrated. You are open for your experiences. You are more idiosyncratic. You are perfectly you're perfectly capable to express and feel the expression. You're spontaneous and creative, humoristic, and you go beyond yourself and beyond your I. And so some of these things that Maslow had been looked into has been surrounding this peak experience. At what are the needs of people, and why are some people more self-realizing than others? What comes out of that, and how could that become uh, understandable? And some of the things that Maslow picked up by his observations and talks and interviews by people who has felt this very high level of fulfilling themselves in life. It's he says it's like they have a feeling of being outside time. Time just disappears. They are in a place where there is no time and no reality as they have been in before. It's a feeling of a change in your I, the thing that I did, the ID, as we say, the things that I identify you. It changes. It's a difference. It's an acceptance that is passive of the experience with no reactions in you. You just live it and are in it and have it thrilling your life. It's the happiness again. It's something that is a choiceless awareness. Here he is quoting Krishnamurti. Jiddu Krishnamurti was a known philosopher from India who spoke a lot about spiritual issues, but he quotes him here because the word makes sense in the context. It's actually Maslow that quotes him. So it's a perception of things in themselves, free of abstractions and free of any kind of rejection. So in a way, you are transcendence in that moment. And that transcendence is the relief from your defense mechanisms, self-censor, your scareness. You leave it all behind and you open yourself up to that experience. You're just in it, you're accepting it, and you are relieved. And that is a very good way of explaining happiness in that moment. And imagine if that could repeat itself for times and times, hours and hours, lessons and lessons. And so he ends up this introduction talking about these three keywords about existential psychology, existential being, and they are very human and most probably very, very common among us. And so we will talk about the chapters in order in the next recording.